There's a lot of secrecy around baby number two for the Sussexes. They've really wanted to create a relationship with the public where they can share a little bit. We had that beautiful photo with the bump and another look at Meghan's bump in the Oprah special, but they really want to keep those delivery details and the birth date to themselves until they're at a time where they can share it with the world. And you kind of can't blame them. Meghan spoke very openly last fall about the miscarriage that she suffered last summer. And I think being able to keep certain moments private, particularly when it comes to the very sensitive issue of delivering a healthy baby to themselves until they're really sure and comfortable to share that with the world. Harry and Meghan's decision to step away from the royal family rolled out in a slightly different way to the one that they had planned. Of course, this all happened in the middle of a pandemic. And so for Harry and Meghan, the rollout has happened a little slower. But we're finally seeing the fruits of their labor. We've got the Archwell Foundation, the Netflix deal, which will be delivering its first goods later this year, the Spotify podcast. These are the things that really make them happy. And despite the noise that maybe claims that they're doing things so differently from other members of the royal family, all of their work is still rooted in that same quest for social impact that they've always had. And so this ability to work in a way that allows them to thrive and keep a little bit of life to themselves is really why we see those big smiles on their faces. And I would imagine the California sun helps too. This Oprah special would have happened much earlier had it not been for a large privacy and copyright case that Meghan had with the Mail on Sunday and Mail Online here in the UK. In fact, those long hearings about the privacy issues that were at the center of the case is why Meghan really had to hold back from sharing anything with the world until the judge delivered a victorious verdict for the couple, allowing her to really be someone in control of the privacy that they have and what they share with the world. And so now we see Meghan ready to share some of that with the world. And we have to remember, she has not said anything since that engagement interview. That was the last time they truly formally sat down with a journalist and shared some information. And so after everyone else has given their input on their lives, and I include myself in this, it's finally the Sussexes' turn to give it from their own mouth. Meghan felt very frustrated when she was a working member of the royal family that she was very much a woman without a voice. When there were inaccurate reports or misinformation in the British tabloids, she would love to just go out there and correct them. And it's the palace's no comment approach to these things that did a lot of damage in the long run. We kind of saw a caricature of Meghan developed in the British tabloids over here. And it's the person that many believe that she actually is. And I think Meghan has always been wanted to be someone that can get out there and share her story in her own words. And it's taken a really long time to get to that place. It reminds me of a story that a friend of hers shared with me from their wedding in 2018. Meghan famously gave a speech on the night, which is kind of a little bit away from royal protocol. But when she stood up to give her words to the room, all of her American friends stood up and cheered because they finally felt like Meg had her voice. They weren't used to seeing Meghan in the public eye, but saying absolutely nothing for so long. And so this will be another moment like that for her friends. Very excited to see her sharing her side of the story finally. We've already heard Harry's feelings towards the press, not just in his interview with James Corden, but really over the years, Harry has never had a great relationship with the British press. It's something that he sees as incredibly toxic. And it was the one thing he really wanted to shield Meghan from when they first started dating. Unfortunately, there is no escaping the devastating impact that negativity here in the UK can have. And that'll be something that we really hear Meghan go into detail about when she sits down with Oprah. Her big struggles as a working member of the royal family were dealing with the British press and all of the lies and misinformation written about her life that she felt she had absolutely no control over. And I think to get that off her chest finally will be not only cathartic, but I think will allow many of us to really have a better understanding of why they made that decision that they did to step away. When we think of Harry and Meghan's relationship with the press, we have to remember that there's a background story there. Harry grew up often blaming the press for the death of his mother. He knows that her life was tormented by many of the tabloids that he still has to deal with today. In fact, many might not know this, but some of those photographers taking pictures of Harry at the royal engagements were the same photographers working around the time of his mother. Now, many of them, of course, come from a very positive place. They're there to amplify the work, but he's also aware of what has gone on behind the scenes. And it's something that he's always struggled with. You know, Harry famously said that he doesn't want to play that game that his mother was forced to play with the press, that royal give and take that the members of the royal family here have with the tabloids. And Harry wants to put an end to that. And I think that really being able to protect Meghan is something that he couldn't do as a child for his mother. And it's why he's really taken such a strong stance against the British tabloids. Many people in the US might not have a strong understanding of just how bad it can be in the UK, but we've seen Meghan called straight out of Compton. We've seen ugly comments made about her mother's dreadlocks, really unpleasant racial remarks, a lot of stereotyping, misogyny, the kind of things that we often see successful women in this country fall victim to when it comes to the things that they're criticized for in the British papers. On top of that, they've also had to deal with intrusion from paparazzi, photos of Archie ending up sometimes on the news desks of the British papers over here. And how can we forget the private letter that Meghan wrote to her father that ended up on the front page of the Mail on Sunday? One of the things that we'll hear Meghan speak about in detail, really for the first time since marrying into the royal family, is the racism that she faced, not just in the British media, but also on social media. In fact, one of the things Harry and Meghan really want to work to do with their Archewell nonprofit is to fight hate and negativity when it comes to social media, creating a more peaceful and positive online community for the world. And that will be really the launch pad of this on the Oprah special, to share their own experiences and how they feed into the work that they're doing. But Meghan touching on racism in the UK, these are all things that we'll see her cover in great detail when she sits down with Oprah. People already have their popcorn ready because they think this Oprah special will be one big tea session. But, you know, we have to remember that this is still a couple that want to uphold the values of the royal family. It was only a week ago that Harry was singing the praises of his grandmother and grandfather, who is currently in hospital. You know, they've managed to maintain a good relationship with certain members of the royal family, and they won't do anything to put those at risk. But I think one thing that many people don't really understand about Harry and Meghan's relationship with the royal family is that they see the institution of the monarchy as a very separate machine, though that's the home of the men and women in grey suits that we heard Diana talk about many years ago, and they feel often cause problems for them, leaking stories to the British tabloids, interfering with their scheduling so other members of the royal family could be more prominent with the work that they do. These are some of the behind the scenes details that I think we'll hear from the couple for the very first time. In those promos, we heard Oprah use the words almost unsurvivable. Now, we don't know the exact context of that conversation, but it reminds me of a conversation that Meghan had on a podcast not so long ago, where she spoke about what it was like, just the unbearable experience of being one of the most trolled women in the world as she was a working member of the royal family. These were moments that Meghan is still recovering from. Those dark days during her first pregnancy with Archie are some of the most difficult during her time as a member of the royal family. And I think we'll really hear her share some of the details of just how much that affected her and challenged her mental health, just like we've heard from Harry talk about in the past. Yeah, behind all of their experiences with the press will also be the memories of Diana, who of course famously suffered at the hands of the British media. And I think Harry and Meghan will be quick to draw many parallels with the experiences that they had with Diana's unfortunate life. And, you know, there are little nods to Diana along the way too. Meghan's wearing a diamond bracelet that once belonged to Princess Diana throughout the interview. That was the couple's way of sort of bringing her in to that moment where they're of course being very vulnerable in front of the entire world. You know, ultimately, a lot of the things that Harry fights for, that fairness in the media, especially in the UK, and that fight against misinformation is because of the things he saw happen to his mother. And he really doesn't want that to happen again, not just for Archie, but for Charlotte, George, and Louis in William and Kate's family, and other young people and young high-profile individuals around the world. You know, this is something I really want to fight for a long time. Yeah, Meghan, as always, puts a lot of thought into what she's wearing. And not only do we have that nod, that tribute to Princess Diana with the diamond bracelet that she's wearing, but there's also her choice of wearing a black Armani dress with the Lotus embroidery on the shoulder. It's a flower that means a lot to Meghan. It stands for spiritual enlightenment and strength. It's a flower that sinks into the mud late at night and comes out clean and fresh the next morning. It's a flower that has an incredible amount of resilience. And that's a story that really stands out to Meghan as someone who has really gone through many of those same experiences as a member of the royal family. This is a couple that think of everything. So I think that people will really be analysing every detail from that Oprah special to find all the hidden clues.